As I stated, I'm an alcoholic. My name's Tom. And I haven't sat here in almost 2 years now, so I guess it's my turn in the barrel. My sobriety date is the 20th of May, 2000, at 11:35 and 35 seconds at night. And I keep that date in my head because that's exactly the moment that I finally surrendered. Leading up to that point, I can get into an awful lot of fucking detail, but I'll tell you one thing for certain. It involved a lot of booze. Can you guys hear now? Yeah. Is that better? Yeah. Better. It involved an awful lot of booze. I drank alcoholically from the first time that I started drinking alcohol. I grew up right down the street from here on 4th and Live Oak in Arcadia. And we used to hit Newcastle Park every Wednesday night for volleyball games, and Fifths of Southern Comfort and Coors Light. And I didn't graduate high school. I got out of continuation school, which was right over there by the train tracks on First, eating Bob's Beef Burgers. And we'd get out early and we'd go to the racetrack and we'd bet the ponies all afternoon. And when you went to continuation high school, you went to high school with a bunch of jockeys. So there was always a winning hand, to be played, because apparently that's an honest sport. And there's never a fix-in at Santa Anita. But what happened was I picked up my first drink when I was going to a junior high school dance at Dana Junior High. There was a little band called Mammoth that was about to play that dance. And I was going to go to that dance and I was going to ask her to dance. I can tell you what her name was, and I can tell you exactly what she looks like, and I'm about to have a moment of reflection, because it was something. But I didn't have the coping skills. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to have those conversations with girls at that time. What I did know how to do was go into my mom and dad's liquor cabinet and grab a bottle of Southern Comfort. I grabbed that bottle of Southern Comfort, I went to Dana Junior High. I started to walk out in the outfield out there and where the football field was, and I finished off that fifth of Southern Comfort. And, yeah, no shit, when you're 13, that'll set you in a bad way. Never made it to the dance that night because the hallway kept going like this and like that. And I made it to the payphone and I dropped a dime on myself, literally. We put a dime in the payphone, I called my parents, and they came and picked me up, and there were no consequences that night. They put me to bed. The next day when I woke up, I was raised by a former Marine, and he believed in consequences. And when I woke up on the garage floor due to those consequences, the first thought I had was, I can't fucking wait to do that again. The consequences had no bearing on me whatsoever. The alcohol hit my system, and it was love at first swallow. I could not put it down. I absolutely could not put it down. Needless to say, at 13, 14 years old, it's kind of hard to get a fifth of Southern Comfort every day. So we'd go to Dar Liquor, we'd go to all the different various liquor stores around here, and we'd stand out in front and hold our $6 out. Someone would get us a six-pack if they didn't run out the back door. And we continued on with that nonsense throughout the years. And the alcoholism wasn't, it was a problem, and there were consequences, what 14, 15-year-old kid doesn't have run-ins with the cops every week, and, running around town in the middle of the night, and playing Frisbee at County Park on 3 tabs of acid, and talking to the police while you're baking away, and just, all the shit that, it was the late 70s, acid was fine, cocaine just smelled good, and alcohol was free and flowing. And none of it was a real problem. But what happened was, all of a sudden, everything else that was going on in my life came second to alcohol. I created a series of jobs for myself throughout the years. That I was either self-employed, I was a consultant, I was a sales representative, manufacturing representative, manufacturing consultant. I always took jobs or created jobs around me that gave me a sense of not having anybody to answer to. And without anybody to answer to, you could drink freely. So I decided that my territory was going to be from San Francisco to San Diego over to Salt Lake City, and I would just get in my car and I'd go start calling on these damn stores, and call on 1 or 2 stores in the afternoon, drink all night long at the hotel. And, I mean, there was a couple times I remember literally waking up one morning and there was a note on my dresser that security had come in and had to turn down the TV. I had no freaking clue that the security had even walked into the hotel room, and I was in one of those little tiny ass towns. So security was probably just Mo, and walked in with a key to the room. But life it just kind of kept on like that, and the consequences weren't really bad. What happened was, because of all of the other things that had gone on, I was pretty self-sufficient and self-supporting, and I wound up kind of successful at it. And with success, it brought me a sense of ego, it brought me a sense of vanity, it brought me a sense of pride, and at this time, I decided that I needed a secretary. And so I hired a secretary. And when they say you never go fishing from the company pond, good idea. I ended up marrying my secretary 3 times. Not the same one. So, every time I would get a little bit of success, I would hire a secretary, and I ended up getting married. And then the wheels would fall off, and I'd get my shit back together, and I would get going along with life, and now I'm traveling overseas and doing all that, and I don't have time for this, and so I hired another secretary and married her. Matter of fact, the gal that I'm with now, I met her when she was the secretary of a meeting. So apparently I have a problem with secretaries. Yeah. You might want to sit down there. That's just the way it is.
It's Angela.
Yeah, Angela was the secretary of the meeting at the 202 when I met her. But what happens is, as I'm going through all of these failed marriages, and, trips to the divorce court and lawyers, and all that shit that happens to us when we're in our depths of our alcoholism, I had gotten to the point where my alcoholism was so bad I couldn't get out of the house. And I didn't need to get out of the house because, I had AOL at the time. And I had a fax machine, and I could do my business over a fax machine and a few emails. And I would wake up in the morning, and I would go out in the backyard, and I would vomit in one corner of the yard. I'd throw up in this corner of the yard for probably 20 minutes. And that corner of the yard was stained grass. And I'd come back, and I'd run into the garage. And in the garage, I'd save 3 fingers, and a handle of vodka from the night before, and I'd finish that just to stop the quivering and the shaking and the cramp. I don't know if anybody ever had the cramp in the liver, but a couple swigs of ice cold Kettle One would sure cure that cramp. And I'd cure that cramp, and I would end up throwing my stepdaughter in the car, and I'd drive her over to this fancy school in Pasadena, and I'd sit there in line with all the other carpool papas. And do the bullshit conversations. Hi, how's life? How's work? How's your golf game? What are we doing? How's business? Well, fuck, I didn't want to talk to any of those guys. All I wanted to do was turn around and get back to the house and get drinking. And I had 4 different liquor stores that I'd stop at. We lived in Bradbury at the time, which I was driving to Pasadena, so I'd come across Foothill, and I'd stop at the Copper Lamp. I'd stop at the bottle shop up in Sierra Madre. I'd stop here, because I didn't want to go into the same liquor store every morning, because they might think I'm an alcoholic. They might question the fact that I'm in there at 7:45 getting a handle of vodka. If I do it every day at the same store, it might not look good. But if I spread it out around town, that's what I'm thinking. I don't know any store owner that sees a guy coming in at 7:45 in the morning walking out with a handle of vodka. I think he's got a clue what's going on. But my drinking got so bad that in Bradbury there, my ex-wife, she filed for a restraining order against me. And on the restraining order, it was filled out that she was tired of her and her daughter watching me slowly commit suicide. And they wanted me out. And I got the knock on the door from the LA County Sheriffs, because Bradbury's under LA County Sheriffs. And I got in an argument with those sheriffs, because it was 10:30 in the morning, and they were trying to throw me out of there, and I was convinced that they were just trying to give me a 502. They were trying to get me for drunk driving. And I argued with that sheriff, and that sheriff finally looked at me and he said, "No, just get out of here. We don't even want to deal with you." And I had a 1993 Chevy Silverado with a shell on the back, and I took about 30 minutes to pack up my shit, and I packed up my shit, and that was in August, the end of August, early September, and I didn't get into a treatment center until May. I was living in the back of that Chevy. Cheney Trail, Chantry Flats, Arcadia County Park, hospital parking lots. I was sleeping in the back of a pickup. I wasn't homeless though.
Good.
I was not homeless. I was just urban camping. I was exploring things. I was figuring a little bit of this out. I was reading the great American novelist, Hunter S. Thompson. I was trying to determine where life was going to take me and all that other stuff, and didn't work out. I ended up checking into the Motel 6 over here right across from Santa Anita Racetrack. Checked into the very same room that Hunter S. Thompson wrote Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas in, and I started my binge drinking. And the thing that happened to me scared me more than anything else in this world. I was drinking about a handle and a half a day on a daily basis. And I drank a handle one morning and I didn't get drunk. And I drank a handle that afternoon and I didn't get drunk. And I drank a handle the next day and I didn't get drunk. My body was not responding to alcohol anymore. My system had basically shut down. And what happened was, physically I was kind of fucked, but emotionally I was absolutely destroyed because I had no coping skills. I didn't know how to deal with life without being buzzed. I had no clue what was going to happen if I wasn't wasted. I had absolute nothing going on in life. I was checked into a motel room and I didn't know what to do. A bunch of my friends had been through a treatment facility and they talked about this thing called sobriety and recovery, so I ended up calling over there, and a week or so later I got myself into Los Encinas Hospital. Fortunately, my ex-wife, I wasn't an ex at the time, but she had fantastic insurance, and I checked in for a 28-day stay. I stayed for 28 days, hung around the outside of those patios for another 30 days after that because I was afraid. I was full of fear. I didn't want to go back into this world. And we had started doing a lecture. Dr. Pinsky was giving a lecture, and then there was a mixed meeting afterwards, and there was about 5 or 6 of us at the time. One of those guys is here tonight, and I haven't seen him in a while. And we said, Dr. Pinsky said, hey, can we start a men's meeting? And we went up to the boardroom up there at Los Encinas Hospital. It's fancy-ass walnut room, leather chairs, beautiful boardroom. And there were 4 or 5 of us alcoholics in there. Started the men's meeting. That's this meeting 23 years later. And what has happened in the meantime, since that day, has been an absolute miracle in Alcoholics Anonymous. Not just for me, not just for Tim, not just for the people that are sitting in this room, but for hundreds and hundreds of men that have joined us in this room since then. We've all found a sense of community, a sense of spirit. We practice the 12 steps and we read the 12 principles here for a reason. Alcoholics Anonymous is not just about not drinking. It's about a spiritual way of life for us. It's about a spiritual way of life for me. I find the spirit in God and my God that I've come to understand in a way that I never imagined possible. And it's all through the power of Alcoholics Anonymous. It says right here, and I mentioned it earlier, when we read this at the beginning of the meetings, a lot of times, and for myself for years, I just went, oh fuck, this is just the beginning of the meeting. Hi, what's going on, man? How's it going over there? Hey, did you sit there? I'll start chatting and moving around. But the preamble says, Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. Plain and simple. I'm not here for cash and prizes. I'm not here for a better credit rating. I'm not here for, a wife. I'm not here for whatever. I'm not here for any of that shit. I'm just here to help others recover from alcoholism. And I can't do that if somebody didn't do it for me. So it's more than a responsibility in Alcoholics Anonymous to help carry the message. It's a duty. It's become a duty in this program that when another person needs help, that I'm available for them to reach out and to help. The experiences that I've had in this program are amazing, widespread. I have no clue how in the world life would have treated me like this. But what has happened is I was required of a few things in here. One of them, I had to do that first step. And I had to do that first step completely. Once I did that first step completely, it was followed with the second step. And as my sponsor reminds me on a daily basis, whenever I call him, if you're having an issue, it's probably a third step problem. And it usually is a third step problem for me. I get to do this thing called Alcoholics Anonymous, and the things that I get to do, today was one of those days. I got up at 5:30 in the morning. My mom had a doctor's appointment in Arcadia. I live in either Lake Arrowhead or Laverne, but I was in Laverne this time. So I had to be over at her house at 6:30. I had to get her to a doctor's appointment in Arcadia. We did the doctor's appointment. It was supposed to be a half hour. It was 2 hours. And then we got to go to the grocery store. Then we got to go to the pharmacy. And then we get, then I get to stop for lunch with her. And then do this, and the whole day was going on. It seemed like it was nothing but a bunch of, fuck, I really don't want to do this. But what it is I get to do these things now because I'm sober. Because I've worked the 12 steps, because I practice the principles in my daily affairs. I get to participate in the lives of others. And part of participating in the lives of others, especially with my mom right now, I did it with my dad until he passed, but especially with my mom right now, is that living amends. I get to provide a living amends to a parent that I put through fucking hell for 37 years. Absolutely. I put her through so much goddamn hell when I was 13. She left me in Lake Arrowhead. Fuck it, we don't need this kid. Leave him up here. And they didn't know what to do with me. So, when you run into somebody that's got their wits' end to that point, I think I owe them a living amends. And I get to do that nowadays. And it's all through the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous and the principles that we get to practice around here. There's a thing that we do going to dinner before the meeting. And that group started out, this guy said, hey, you want to grab dinner before a meeting? And we did that. And then come on, man, join us for dinner. Now we got 15 to 20 guys joining us for dinner. And that changes all the time. And there's other groups of guys that are going to dinner and doing this and that. And we do this BMR men's retreat where we get together and we do the steps and we fellowship and we break bread. And what we do is we get into the program of recovery. We absolutely live in that program of recovery so we can go out and do these other things. Without all of that, I couldn't do any of the other stuff. I need this program of Alcoholics Anonymous. I need the big one. I need those steps behind me. I get to do those steps on a daily basis. I get to work with other guys. If they need to do some steps, we get to work. Hey, can you meet me 15 minutes early? I don't know, traffic's fucked. I'll get there as quick as I can. And then we get to do that stuff. It's one person helping another around here. And I'm so glad and I'm so honored to be a part of this nowadays. You told me 24 years ago, dude, you're going to be an Alcoholics Anonymous for 23 plus years. I just said, you fucking nuts. Those guys are old and tired and drunk and, they come from under a bridge. And you know what? Guess what? I'm old and I'm tired and I came from under a bridge. And I'm happy about that because it's not like that now. I don't have to sleep in the back of my truck unless I choose to. And sometimes I do, It's just the way it is. But the blessings that come around here, when you can walk into a room and you can look at a person and know that they're either in a good spot or they need to go spend 5 minutes without even talking to them, that's God on another level. That's God on another level. We don't get that shit at Vaughn's. We can't have conversations with people like that at Stater Brothers or CVS. Come to Alcoholics Anonymous and I don't know all of you, but I know all of you. You may not know me, but you know who I am. I'm that guy that drank too much, found recovery, lives in recovery, and is a proud member of Alcoholics Anonymous. A lot of people, when they get up at this chair, they say, I earned my seat in Alcoholics Anonymous. I didn't earn my seat. You guys all saved me a chair for when I needed it the most, and thank you for doing that.